everyone in the configuration topology part 4. My name is Kedar Khandekar and I am a Cisco certified internet network expert in enterprise infrastructure. So if you have any question then please feel free to mail me on kedarkhandekar@nittraining.in. So in today's part 4 we have to configure the DMVPN phase 3 in Jensen's branch router as per the requirement. So the first requirement is that router 17 must be configured as a hub router. Router 19, 20 and 21 must be a spoke router and must participate in NHRP information exchange. Then we have to ensure that the spoke to spoke traffic does not transit via hub. Then we have to attach the pre-configured IPsec profile to the tunnel interface on all the tunnel endpoints. So this is my router 17. So this will be my hub router and this router 19, 20 and 21 will be my spoke router. So let's configure the tunnel interface first and then after that we have to configure the OS page. So let's configure the tunnel interface first. So we will start with router 17. So if we see that show IP int brief, so here you can see that the tunnel interface is already created and the IP is 10.100.0.1. Same thing on router 19, 20 and 21. So here also tunnel interface is created and the IP address has been pre-configured. Same thing if you see on 20 and 21, so here also tunnel interface is created and on 21 also the tunnel interface is created. And if you see the IPsec profile, so here you can see the IPsec profile is also created on all the routers. The name of IPsec profile is DMVPN profile. So we have to attach this IPsec profile to the tunnel interface. Okay, so let's start with router 17 now. So interface tunnel 0, tunnel source will be E0/0, tunnel mode GRE multi-point, then IP NHRP, network ID will be 12345, then IP NHRP redirect, IP NHRP map multicast dynamic, and then we have to attach the IPsec profile which is tunnel protection IPsec profile. And now the name of the IPsec profile, so here it was DMVPN profile. So I have attached the IPsec profile to the tunnel interface. Let's create the tunnel interface. Let's configure the tunnel interface or R19, 20 and 21 also. So here also tunnel interface 0, tunnel source, here it will be dialer 1. So in previous part we have configured the PPP also, so tunnel source will be dialer 1. And now tunnel mode GRE multi-point, IP NHRP network dash ID 12345, and then IP NHRP shortcut, IP NHRP map 10.100.0.1 and 192.0.2.2, and then IP NHRP NHS 10.100.0.1, and now IP NHRP map multicast 192.0.2.2, the IP address of router 17. Okay, and now we have to attach the IPsec profile. So the same command tunnel protection IPsec profile DMVPN profile. So same thing on router 19. So we have done the configuration of router 19. Now router 20. So interface tunnel 0. So here also tunnel source will be dialer 1. Tunnel mode GRE multi-point, IP NHRP network ID 12345, IP NHRP shortcut, IP NHRP map 10.100.0.1 and 192.0.2.2, IP NHRP NHS. So here it will be 10.100.0.1, the IP address of router 7 tunnel 0, and now IP NHRP map multicast 192.0.2.2, and we have to attach the IPsec profile also here. So the same command will be on router 20. Now router 21. So interface tunnel 0, tunnel source dialer 1, tunnel mode GRE multipoint IP NHRP network dash ID 12345 IP NHRP shortcut IP NHRP map 10.100.0.1 192.0.2.2 and now IP NHRP NHS 10.100.0.1 IP NHRP map multicast 192.0.2.2 and now we have to attach the IPsec profile same on router 21. So we have configured the tunnel interfaces. Now let's verify on router 17 show IP INT bridge. So the tunnel interfaces are up. Okay, so we will ping the router 17's tunnel IP from router 19, 20 and 21. So let's try to ping. So we are getting the reachability to the router 17's tunnel IP. Same thing from router 20, router 21. So we are getting the reachability from router 19, 20 and 21 towards the router 17 tunnel IP. Okay. Now let's move on toward the next requirement. So our next requirement is that each branch router must establish an OSPF adjacency with router 17. So this is my branch router, router 19, 20 and 21. So this branch router must establish the OSPF adjacency with my hub router, which is router 17, and they must receive a default route via OSPF. So this all the branch router must receive the default route via OSPF, but then they may not receive any another LSA type 3 from the ABR. Okay, so the requirement is that router 19, 20 and 21 must not receive a type 3 LSA from the ABR. So this router 17 is my ABR. So we are configuring area 51 here for the DM VPN, and in upcoming task we will be configuring the area 0 also for this data center. Okay, so this will be my ABR. Okay, so the requirement is that you should not advertise the type 3 LSA towards my branch router. So here we have to configure the router 17 as a totally stub, because totally stub blocks the type 4, type 5 and type 3 LSA. Okay, so we have to configure the totally stub here on router 17, and now after that each branch router must advertise the loopback interface and interface E0/1 into OSPF. So these are my router 19, 20 and 21. So we have to advertise that loopback interface and interface E0/1 into OSPF. And then router 17 must propagate a default route into OSPF domain, but only if it has already a default route in his routing table. Okay, so router 17 should have the routing table, default route in his routing table, and after that only he must advertise a default route towards branch router. Okay, so this is the requirement here. So first we will configure the router 17. So the task is saying that router 17 should only advertise a default route in its OSPF domain if he has already a default route in its routing table. So if we check the routing table, so in routing table we see that router 7 is already having the default route. Okay, so now for that, so if you want to advertise the default route in the OSPF, so we have to go inside the OSPF router OSPF1, inside the OSPF process, and now here we have to give the command default information originate. Okay, so now router 17 will advertise the default route towards router 19, 20 and 21. And now the task is also saying that router 17 should not advertise the type 3 LSA towards router 19, 20 and 21. So for that now we have to configure the stub areas here. Okay, so we have to configure the router 17 as a totally stub area. Okay, so let's configure the router 17 as a totally stub area. So area 51 stub no summary. So my router 17 will not advertise the type 3 LSA towards router 19, 20 and 21. Now let's configure the tunnel interface into OSPF. So IP OSPF 1 area 51, IP OSPF network point to multi-point. Okay, so we have done with router 17. Now on router 19, So if we see show IP int brief here, so here we can see that there is the loopback interface and interface E0/1. So we have to advertise the loopback interface and interface E0/1 into OSPF. So router OSPF1 here. So here we will set the router ID to loopback interface, which is 10.255.1.19. Okay, and now after that area 51 same stub. Now exit. Now we have to advertise the interface tunnel 0 into OSPF. So IP OSPF1 area 51 and IP OSPF network point to multi-point, and interface LO0. So it is my loopback 0 only. So interface LO0 and also the interface E0/1. So interface range LO0 and E0/1 IP OSPF1 area 51. So the same thing on router 20 and 21. So router, if we see here, show IP int brief. So here also we can see the loopback interface and E0/1 interface. So let's configure router OSPF1. So here the router ID will be the loopback interface IP 10.255.1.20. Okay, and now again the area 51 as a stub, and now exit. Interface tunnel 0 IP OSPF1 area 51 IP OSPF network point to multi-point, and now interface range E0/1 and my loopback 0. So IP OSPF1 area 51. Same thing on router 21. So here also if we check the IP table, so IP int brief. So here also there is a loopback and interface E0/1 10.16.3.1. So router OSPF1 router ID here it will be 10.255.1.21, and now area 51 stub, exit. Now interface tunnel 0 IP OSPF1 area 51, and now IP OSPF network point to multi-point, exit. Interface range E0/1 and my loopback interface. So IP OSPF1 area 51. So we have done with the configuration. Now if we check the routing table of router 19, show IP route OSPF. So we can see that router 19 is receiving the networks 10.16.2.0, which is router 19's E0/1 network, and 10.16.3.0, which is router 21's network E0/1. Okay, and also they are receiving the IP address of the tunnel interfaces and also the loopback interfaces. Okay, so we have done with the configuration. Now we have to test the reachability. So here we have to, from router 19 we will be testing the reachability. We will be tracing the path of 10.16.2.1, which is the IP address of router 20's E0/1 interface, and we will trace the second IP address also, which is 10.16.3.1, which is the IP address of router 21's interface E0/1. Okay, so we will be testing the path. We will be tracing from this 10.16.1.1 to 10.16.2.1 and 3.1. Okay, so let's test it. So let's try to ping first from router 19. So we will ping 10.16.0.1. Sorry, 10.16.2.1. So we are getting the reachability. Now after that we have to ping 10.16.3.1. So here also we are getting the reachability. Now let's trace route 10.16.2.1, and now source will be E0/1. My router 19's interface E0/1. So we are getting the same output, and now for 3.1 also we are getting the same output. Okay, 10.100.0.20 and 10.100.0.21. So we are getting the same output as per the requirement. 10.100.0.20 and 10.100.0.21. Okay, so thanks for watching the video. If you have any question, then please feel free to mail me on kedarhandikar@nettraining.in. Thank you.